Good morning to Mr. Rakesh and good morning to all the people present in this meeting today. We are very thankful to Mr. Rakesh for agreeing to speak to our students on Fratelli Wines. Thank you very much. Let us start the meeting with a prayer. Let's pray to the Almighty that today's meeting goes on without any obstacles and that everybody present in today's meeting gains by the end of it.
ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव वन्दनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव वन्दनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव वन्दनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्
Nikhil? Sumant, would you like to read it?
Sure, sir. Should I start, sir?
Yes.
Rakesh Awaghade. Rakesh was born and raised in Mumbai and began his learning journey as graduate of business administration from London. He is certified sommelier by the Court of Master Sommelier, as well as Wine Spirit Education Trust Level 14 diploma candidate. Currently pursuing his advanced sommelier with the intent to take and perhaps pursue a master sommelier destination. Professionally, Rakesh was being involved in a aspect of wine management from training to testing. He was created full wine and beverage program work as a sommelier, taught wine education as well as helped build many wine bars and restaurants. Rakesh was worked for Oberoi Hotels India, one Michelin star Luncheon Palace and Canmonian Club and Guardian Ramsay and Soviet Grill in London. Rakesh flourishes when he was connecting with people and drinking offshore in indigenous wines. Rakesh was voted as best sommelier in Delhi NCR in 2019. He is the only ambassador for the campaign Krug Ambassador Program in India, a part of the LVMH Moet Hense Lois Vuitton, and also one of the brand ambassador of Bargainer Europe, Cook and Chef Institute, who promotes technological innovation in kitchenware. He hosted a fine wine affair, a three-day Astrugeniza event featuring renowned wines with a series of wine tasting experience, educational input, and trusted master classes. He was tutor of the WSET Level 2 at the Oberoi School of Learning and Development OCLD for academic excellence. He was participated in article of wine for specialist magazine like a Sommelier India, Beefs and Spit, Delhi Wines Club, etc. He is currently one of the 10 mentors for the Venetia Agri Diversity Program in British Columbia, Canada, helping aspiring BIPOC professional launch careers in the wine industry. His philosophy remains that palate calibration is individually based and wine is better judged without a context. It is a completely human experience, not this intangible thing, and should be fun every single day. Thank you, sir.
The stage is all yours, sir.
Right, sir. Can you give me the access to be a host so I can start
Yes,
sharing the
please.
screen?
Yes, please.
Right. All right. I think everyone can see me now.
Yes.
First of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Suman, thank you for describing it and putting all the efforts about my profile. But yeah, I think I would like to take this opportunity because this is my first time I'm actually doing a virtual tastings, virtual kind of session for the students. I forgot
Good.
to mention.
Congratulations, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. So I am an IHM graduate as well, but from IHM Mumbai, and it's been about some time now that I passed. But just to give you a background, when I was in the college, I didn't know what to do, where else to go. So there was no one to guide me or to give me the guidance, to be honest. But I think you guys are lucky that if you are conducting a session like this, it's actually a very good eye opener for you to understand and see what's your next step. Where would you like to go after you finish the graduation? So I think you guys should make use of it. Maybe people who are interested in the wines or who would like to see beverage as a focus for your career, this step is really important because this is where it will decide what path you want to lead and the future depends on this. So if not, that's absolutely fine because I have a lot of my friends who are in the kitchen, who are in the housekeepings, but some of them are even general managers and restaurant managers. But nevertheless, it's your opinion and it's your choice. But we are just here to guide you, right? So like Suman said about myself, yes, I started my journey in London where I got interacted with the wines, and that's how the passion began for me. I was no close to wines. I was as an average student in the wines because wine was not my forte. It was never a passion. But when I went abroad and I started studying further, that's when I was serving at the table and I thought a lot of the European colleagues who I was working with, and they were serving the wines and they were talking so nicely and swiftly about the wines, and I was just admiring them and looking. I mean, if this person can talk about the wine, why cannot I? It's just because we are Indians that we shouldn't consider ourselves anything less. And that was the drive which made me possible where I'm here now. And it's a very long journey. It's actually a lot of sacrifices because when you want to become a sommelier or when you want to be into the industry of wines, there's a lot of obstacles in your path because it's not an easy journey. It's not something like a becoming a restaurant manager. It's really difficult and a lot of things are involved and you have to do a lot of studies as well. I'm still studying. Like I said in my profile, I'm studying for my level 4, which is a diploma and the Code of Master Sommelier, which is one of the most difficult exams in the world of wines. And in the world so far, we have less than 300 people who have actually got this certificate. So that's a very, very momentum and a very, very difficult exam to crack on. But yes, so that's the aim. From India, so far, no one has cleared, no one has passed that exam. So you can imagine how difficult it is. And on the earth, I mean, saying the actual people who are living, I think it's about 267, but that's all we have, the number of people. So yeah, I mean, if you want to know about the wines and if you would like to have an interest, the most important is the history, because history is really well connected with the wines. wines is a subject, as you all know, it's very vast. Wines have been made since about 5,000 years ago, and the current trend for the wines is all connected with the past. So you need to know the history, you need to know your geography very well, because there are so many different countries producing wines. So you need to know each region. I'm sure you know your wine producing regions and your sub-regions and your regions in that. So you need to know where, you need to have an interest for geography as well. And obviously science is the most important thing, because most of your food and wine pairing subject, which is people look at from different angles. It's the science of food and wine pairing. It's the molecular and it's the chemistry involved, which I think if you have an interest or if you would like to learn more about it, so that's more about building yourself or becoming yourself as a sommelier. So that will really help you to link yourself with all the subjects. So I don't want to bore you with more information about myself, but yeah, right now I was working for the Oberoi for the past 5 years. That was my first job in India, but I was heading the wine program for all the hotels in India for the Oberoi. I was responsible not only as a sommelier, but also for the training and tasting. So wherever we had Oberoi hotels, so I was the main custodian for the wines, and the list which we have created for the Oberoi is because of me. So I've been working with Fratelli for the past 3 months now. I've started in February, and again I am responsible for the training and tastings all over India. I'm based in New Delhi. This is where I am now, but I originally belong from Mumbai. So in terms of Fratelli, just to give you a background about the Fratelli. So the journey of Fratelli began in 2007. 2007 is when three families actually, they came together and they wanted to set up a company, wine producer to be a wine producer. And the inception started around 2007 when all of them came together and formed Fratelli. So it's actually the three different setups, three different types. The one of them is from the Italy, one of them is from New Delhi, and the other one is from Cilantro. So three different families, they came together, and that's how they formed Fratelli. Fratelli means brothers in the Italian language, and it's the coming together of three brothers. So the Italian brothers are called Secchi, the Andrea and Alessio. The Secchi brothers, which belong from Delhi, are the Kapil and Gaurav, and the Mohite Patil brothers, the Ranjit and Ranjit. So the brand, since 2007, the brand is in the market and been steadily gaining recognition for its quality and setting new benchmarks worldwide. Our vineyards are located in Solapur. Like you all know, Solapur is located in Maharashtra. If you are not sure, if you've not been, so Solapur is really, really close to Maharashtra, and it's a place where you find not many, but only one estate, which is Fratelli. Most of our vineyards in India are produced in Nashik. As you all know, Nashik is the hotspot for the vineyards, one of the very famous wines. Sula is also coming from there. I'm sure you have heard about it, but there are many small estates as well, wine producers who are also based in Nashik. And apart from there, you will also find some of them on the belt of the Bangalore, the Karnataka region. There also you will find quite some wine producers. But we are the only one who are situated in Solapur. And in Solapur, we have a very small village by the name of Akluj. So Akluj is where we produce our wines. It's a massive area, what we have acquired because of one of our partners from Solapur. They have the most of their land. The reason you may have a question, why do we have selected Akluj? Why not? We could have followed the same path like all the other producers and develop our wines in Nashik. The reason is because we enjoy quite a few benefits. Two of the most important reasons I'm going to tell you. One is in the radius of about 50 kilometers, there is no factory, there is no air pollution, and hence we quite enjoy a really good circulation of air and a very good temperature, which is quite important for producing the wines. And secondly, we have an altitude of about 550 meters. So we have an altitude of about 550 meters above the ground level. So for your understanding, every 50 meters a rise in altitude you get a decrease in temperature of 1 degrees. So when you get a height of about 550 meters above the ground level, you obviously are getting a much better control and regulation of your temperature. So most of our vineyards, they enjoy from a more moderate and a better cooling temperatures, especially during the summer months, when other vineyards in Nashik and Karnataka, the Bangalore belt, are really scorching and it goes about 45 degrees. We are still enjoying a much cooler effect of our vineyards. Wine, when the wine needs to grow during the 12-month of cycle, it needs a more controlled temperature of about 15 to 25 degrees is what is the best. Anything after that just really does not work well, and you may produce an excess, an extra ripeness, an extra sugar, or you may not produce much of the cycle if you are going below the temperature of 50. So that's the stable temperature. About 15-25 is a good temperature, but yes, we enjoy on average about 35 degrees in our vineyards during the day, and in the night it shoots down to about 15 degrees. So that's the kind of temperature we enjoy. So our vineyards are currently planted with 350,000 saplings. Saplings are nothing but the young vines. So we imported about 350,000 saplings in 2007 of 12 different species, 12 different grape varieties. You know the grape varieties like your Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, your Chenin Blanc, your Cabernet Sauvignon, your Shiraz, your Merlot. So those were the 12 different grape varieties we imported. We imported from France. There is a French grape wine nursery by the name of Guillaume. From there, we imported about 12 different grape varieties, and that the numbers were about 350,000 saplings. And then we planted them into a soil in Akluj, and 240 acres of land which belongs to us, and about 300 acres which belongs to the local farmers. So all in all, we have about 550 acres of land. We are India's largest single estate loan producer. So we have the largest amount of land under cultivation for grapes, and hence we are being widely said as the largest producer of single estate wines.
How come we've never heard of Fratelli Wines? We have heard of Sula. Sula has come to our campus also twice.
Well, Sula has been more into commercial. Sula is producing wines on a very massive scale. I will explain you the philosophy of our wines. We don't produce in bulk. Our main focus is always to produce quality wines, and to achieve quality, you need to always control your yield and your volume. If you lose your
yield, the land that you have is tremendous. Great amount of land you have. It's a big facility, it seems.
Just to give you a comparison, Sula, when I knew about 3 years back, they had about 60 acres of land of their own. Compared to us, we have around 240 of our own.
Yeah, 4 times.
Yeah, so but still Sula produces 10 times more wines than us. So you understand, it's not a family kind of business. It's more of a commercial where you're producing wines for the demand, just because your demand is so high that you have to get the grapes from anywhere and wherever you can source them. That's maybe the reason, because they also produce wines at a different spectrum, right from affordable, you may get from about 1,500 rupees, and it might go to 1,500 to 2,000 rupees. But yes, that's to satisfy the needs of the end consumers. You have to take that step. But again, it's the intention and the goal, what you are. So our philosophy, like I said, we don't want to produce in bulk, and we have never ever visioned that. So coming back to our vineyards, were planted on the virgin land, covering a new region in Akluj, which continues to spread. So before 2007, wine was not in fashion. It was not a wine hub. But before that, what the main crop or the staple crop for them was the sugarcane. The sugarcane was a really good amount they used to be producing, and they were really, really happy. But we encourage people, the local farmers, to uproot sugarcane and start using the grapes, and the grapes also fetches you a really good amount of money. In fact, if you produce a quality grapes, then we reward you as per the quality. So that's a step we have taken, and hence Akluj is now getting famous for as being seen as the wine hub for India. So the harvest, like in India, the harvest happens in February and March. Feb is when we do the white grapes, and the red grapes are harvested in March. With the white grapes, you all know that we get the white wine sparklings, and with the red grapes, you get the red wine. Right? In many of the Western countries, the practice is followed of machine harvesting. Over here in India, we do 100% manual labor harvesting. It's also because labor is affordable. It's not that expensive here in India. But the main principle why we do manual labor is because you get the choice of selecting the berries, the bunches in your vineyards. So there is a time in the vineyards when you do the harvest. Sometimes some of the bunches are ripe and some of the bunches are still underripe. They may have that green, undercut, high acidity, but less sugar. So we need to try and taste out the grapes to see if they are ripe. And once they are ripe, then we pick up the grapes. And this process follows uneven in all the vineyards. And hence, with the label, we have the advantage of picking only the grapes which are in perfect conditions or which may qualify to produce us good wines. And this steps and this process has been followed about for 6 weeks, from 4 weeks to 6 weeks, depends on the placement of the vineyards, the altitude of the vineyards, the soil structure, and how old the wines are. So it's a very long process, but yes, we have been able to provide consistent quality in our grapes, and hence we have great quality wines at the end. So that's the harvest. So that's the wine producing regions of India. You have the Solapur, Nashik, Pune, and Karnataka. But it's all accumulated right over here in the belt, right? Our winery is spread out on a 70,000 square feet of area. It's state-of-the-art plant and machinery.
I wish we could come there and see the facility ourselves. It's looking so attractive.
We can arrange a visit for you guys, because we have never done something on this scale, because our rooms are quite less. We only have about 5 to 8 rooms, which does not accommodate along. But if you do like to plan a day trip, yes, that can be taken care of, because that's really wonderful. I will show you a video after that in between, where you will come to know about our vineyards as well.
Mr. Azhar has joined us. Mr. Azhar.
Good morning, Mr. Rakesh.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome, and thank you so much for sparing time for us, for our student. I was just having word with Mr. Rakesh Kumar that I was unable to join because of some technical issues. I have just joined with another device, so I am able to join.
Okay, now please, Mr. Azhar, please make a note that Mr. Rakesh has invited us and our students to his winery, to his vineyard, to show us the facility. Please note it down somewhere. We will take him up on this promise.
Sure.
Yeah, so can I continue?
Yes, please.
Please.
Okay, so like I was saying, our winery is located in Akluj, and in Akluj we have one of the 3 vineyard spots, which is called Motewadi. So Motewadi is one of the vineyard sites of the company, and we have installed capacity of over 2 million liters. We are equipped with multi-capacity tanks, and most of our tanks have been imported from Italy. There's a region called Veneto. I'm sure you must have heard about Veneto. So Veneto is a region where we have imported all of our tanks. So multi-capacity tanks serves dual purposes. We can actually store 2 different styles of wine in just one tank by using a partition, which allows us to have a dual temperature and regulates the wines and stores them at perfect temperature as they are. The proximity of our winery to the vineyard ensures that once the grapes are harvested, they are processed within an hour in absolutely fresh condition. This is really important step, because as you know, during March, if you come to vineyards, you will see the temperature goes about 40-45 degrees, and it's quite dry. The sun is really dry. There is no humidity. So imagine if you can get tanned, the grape skins gets baked, it gets heated up, the skin gets split up, and the juice starts to flow off. If you keep the pick up grapes in the vineyards for more than 30-40 minutes. And it's really important that as soon as you pick up the grapes, as soon as you harvest the grapes, you transfer them as soon as possible to your estates, because there you have a temperature controlled area, and there you can start the process of the fermentation. But this hardly happens, especially in India with many of the producers, because due to their lack of negligence, they don't take this step and they don't take this seriously, and hence you may not get a good quality wine. The grapes gets damaged, the juice starts flowing out, you lose the freshness, you lose the acidity, your quality drops down, and you may not produce a good quality wine. So these small steps are really important in achieving a great quality wine, which sometimes gets neglected because we are producing or we are harvesting in India the wines, the grapes on a very large scale, and this step is sometimes overlooked. So this is our creator, the man behind our wines. You may call it a viticulturalist, you may call it an enologist or a chief winemaker, but he's responsible for the wines, the way they taste. He decides the blend, about how much blend of each grape should be a part of the wine. So he's based in Tuscany. He owns a vineyard, a wine by the name of Casasola. Casasola is a wine which he produces in Chianti Classico. Chianti Classico is the epicenter, is the heart of Chianti. Chianti is in Tuscany, and Tuscany is the central part of Italy. So Piero has an experience of more than 40 years and 64 harvests. Besides technical expertise, he is also a stakeholder in the company. Now, just to give you a very small gist about how the white wines is made, I am sure you know we have already have covered this topic in your academic. But like you all know, we harvest the grapes. We do a press. For the white wines, we just do the press. When we do the press, it's just a gentle press. The aim of to do the press is to collect the juice, nothing else. We just leave the juice, and then we collect the juice, and we start in the tank over here. We settle down, so all the impurities get settled down at the bottom due to the force of gravity, and then you have clear liquid at the top. The clear liquid then we get transferred into the tank, into the fermentation tank or any other tank. If you do in oak barrels, you can do in oak barrel as well. But most of the time it is done in fermentation tanks, stainless steel tanks. Then we add the yeast, a cultured yeast, which is best suitable for the production of the white wines, and then the fermentation starts. In about 7 to 10 days, fermentation ends, and then you get the blending. The blended wine is then being taken into the clarification, where you put some stabilizing agents, clarifying agents, sometimes like egg white or fish bones, or you may also use protein, which is a good source of your legumes. So those, it depends, whatever you want to add, you may add those of the agents, and then you do the clarification. What happens to the clarification? You get all the impurities settle down with those agents, and then you produce the wine. The wine is then been bottled, and then it has been dispatched to the market. This is a very, just to give, it's more like a refresher for you to understand how the white wines are made.
Right? So no added preservatives or coloring or nothing else is added, just grape juice.
That preservative in the sense of we do add sulfur, but I have not kept on the slide because that's more detailed into the winemaking steps. But yes, there are a lot of things, a lot of chemical analysis happens in the winemaking. But that is on that at this moment for the students to understand. I don't think it's really important. So hence I have skipped that. But yes, we do add sulfur. Sulfur is been added because sulfur acts as an antioxidant. So every wine has sulfur, and sulfur actually.
And the whole process from harvesting to bottling takes about a month.
Yes, maybe sometimes less, just a week less. Yeah, so that's how the whites are made. Whites have been really, really delicate, and hence we need to process them at the earliest. So you may don't want to have any off flavors in the wine, and hence the grapes are being processed at the earliest. And the fermentation takes about 7 to 10 days, depends on the style of wine you would like to produce. And that's what the job of the fermentation is done. So maybe if you do like to age your white wines in the oak barrels, which just happened for some of the whites, then it may take a bit longer. But otherwise, most of the white wines which are ready to drink, like your simple, fresh, fruity wines, straightforward wines, they get produced very, very quickly in less than a month. In about 3 or 4 weeks, you may have the wine ready. That's this is about the red wine. Exactly the same process. We harvest the grapes, we prepare the grapes. Sometimes you may use the whole bunch, or sometimes you may destem the grapes with you may have a machine for a destemmer, or we have manual labor who does the job the same as a destemmer. Destemmer is nothing but the whole bunches have been passed to a machine where just the stems have been thrown away and you get the berries on one side. So it's a very quick process of dismantling the entire bunch altogether. So that happens with very, very large producers or estates. So exactly, so we prepare the grapes and we put the grapes in either fermentation tank, stainless steel tanks, or you may use a barrel. However you would like to use, it depends again on the winemaking style and what kind of wine you would like to produce. So fermentation tank, if I use fermentation tank, then I will add the yeast into the tank. Fermentation starts, and once the fermentation begins, it will take about 7 to 10 days for the fermentation to get finished. And then once the fermentation is finished, all the grape skins and the leftovers from the wine have been separated. They have been punched out, they've been pressed very hardly, and the juice has been taken out and then put into a different tank or maybe a barrel for further aging. And then this has been discarded. This can be used as a manure for your soil in the vineyards, or you can be given as a fodder for your cattle. You can make use of it. Sometimes some of the producers also make a second wine out of the leftover. We call it a cake. So it is in the shape of a cake when you press. So the leftover you can use however you would like to use. Then aging happens, and aging happens in the barrel. And then once the aging is done, then the blending happens. Blending is the most important aspect over here, because blending decides the style of wine you would like to use. For example, if you want to use a blend of about 60% Cabernet Sauvignon and 40% Shiraz, then you will have to use in an exact proportion. You'll have to use in an exact proportion so as to define the style you've been producing consistently every year. So blending is one of the most important tasks, and like we have Pierre Masi, he's a chief creator, so he's responsible for the blending. Once the wines have been blended, then the same step, we do the clarification. Clarification is you just have to remove the impurities by adding an clarifying agent, which can be anything from the fish bones or the eggs or the proteins, which are the high proteins, the legumes. Once that is done, then you do the bottling, and you may either send it to the market, or you may age the wines further to gain more stability, complexity, and maturity. So that's a very compact presentation of how the white and red wines are made. It's just a recap, a refresher for you to understand how the process happens step by step. Of course, there is more, like Sir said, there's a much more detailed map of the wines being produced, but that depends. Some of the steps depends on individual producers, the estates, the winemakers. Some of them are optional steps, which some of them do make, some of them don't make. So it's all discretion, and it's all the objective of the wine you would like to produce.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can you again explain me the blending, sir? I didn't get it.
So blending depends on your house style. For example, every producer or every estate will have their house styles. For example, we are producing a wine, Cabernet Franc and Shiraz, for about 10 years now. To achieve the similar consistent of the wine every year, we will have to create the same blend. And to create the same blend and to get the same taste, we have to do some subtraction and additions, right? So that is the formula of the blending. Now, the Pierre Masi is a man over here who takes a final call of what the proportion of the blend should be. Like we do say it's a Cabernet Franc and Shiraz on a bottle, but you don't know how much is a Cabernet Franc and Shiraz we use every year. Sometimes it may be 90% Cabernet Franc, and sometimes it may be 50% Cabernet Franc. Now that depends on the Mother Nature's call. If the harvest is good, then we may have a really good crop. If the harvest is bad, and then we may not have a good Cabernet Franc, we may have to increase the proportion of Shiraz in the blend, because the Shiraz is coming out really, really good. So it all depends on vintages to vintages, and the composition remains a secret every year. But the aim for the Cabernet Franc Shiraz, for example, it needs to come to a medium style of wine. So our aim is to generate a medium style of wine every year, irrespective of the proportion of the blend we use in our wines, right? So this is how we decide the blend every year based on the Mother Nature's call. It is something which we don't have control, and something which we cannot change into a winemaking style. So this is all up to the Mother Nature. So I hope this year we get a vintage. Right? Is that you guys understand? It's just I don't want to complicate you with a lot of stuff right over here, because it's a very, very complicated process. The more you go into it, you will get hammered. So at the moment, I think for you this is the information. But again, if you would like to have more information, then I can always share you my details. You can reach out to me if you need any further assistance or guidance, understanding the works, right? So So our wines, I'll just now talk about brief about our wines. So we have the classification, as you know, about the wines. They're the still, sparkling, and the sweet. Still wines are your wines which are like the red and white wines without any bubbles or without any gas. So they're the more stiller wines, and they're more absolutely drier in taste. Sparkling wines, obviously, when you have the bubbles in them, you call it a sparkling. Sparkling means bubbles, effervescence, gas. So the sparkling wines. Sweet wines are your wines which has a bit of sweetness in it. So when you try the sweet wines, you will find a sugar intake. They have an additional a higher amount of sugar. Somewhere starting about from 15 grams to about 35 to 100 grams of sugar per liter. So that depends on the style of wines. So basically, on a broader aspect, there are three types of wines: still, sparkling, and sweet. So that is by the type you do a classification. You can also do the classification by the body, not the body as a muscular body, but the body as the weight of the wine. So it can be a light body, it can be a medium body, it can be a full body. A great example to identify the body in the wine is when you have a water, milk, and a cream. So how you taste the water is so light on your mouth, on your palate when you drink the water. It's light, it doesn't taste at all, and it's very, very light. But the same example when you do with the milk, it gives you a bit of heaviness. It's slightly more, it sits on your mouth, right? When you drink a glass of milk. So how do you get that feeling that the viscosity, the density in your mouth is exactly how a medium-bodied wines would give you when you try them. And a full-bodied wine would be exactly the same as a cream. Like when you have a just taste the cream, or I don't know if you go in a bakery, or I'm sure or you have a bakery there in your colleges, so you can just taste the cream, and then you will see how the cream sits in your mouth. It's so cloyingly heavy, and it's really, really rich on the taste. Exactly the same feeling would give to you when you have a full bodied style of wine. Now, this is just an example we would like to give to you to set you up to understand the differences and to identify yourself, to observe the taste profiles of the light, medium, and bodied. It does not mean that the wines will taste exactly as a cream or as a milk. Understand the viscosity and the density it will create in your mouth when you try water, milk, and liquid. That's exactly how you would have the weight of a light, medium, and full body, right? So level of sweetness, it's more like a dry, off dry, medium sweet, and sweet. So dry wines will give you less than 6 grams of sugar per liter. About off dry wine, somewhere between 9 to 15 grams of sugar. Medium sweet would be obviously about 18 to 36 grams, and anything above 35, 40 grams would qualify as a sweet wine. All the countries have their own laws, their own appellations, and they would hence qualify the dryness as per their parameters. So a French wine may say for them the dry would be about 0 to 6 grams, but an Italian would say about 0 to 8 grams. So it all depends, but this is the age, this is the bracket where sweetness levels would be considered. So that's how you can either classify the wines based on the level of sweetness, on the time, or on the body. Right. So we have a few of the wines which I'm going to talk about. So Cabernet Sauvignon is one of the world's most widely known and widely planted grapes. Even in India, we do Cabernet Sauvignon, and we have great examples produced. Cabernet Sauvignon loves heat. It is a grape which enjoys heat, but it also really works well in moderate climate. It is not a grape which you can produce in cooler climates, and hence, if you see many wine producing regions which are towards more of a cooler style, they will not be able to produce a good quality Cabernet. And if you do still produce a cooler or more moderate kind of climate, you may get more herbaceous or vegetal characteristics of more of a bell pepper, fresh mint, or more of those cabbages and those kind of flavors. But a true Cabernet Sauvignon is usually produced from about moderate to hot climate, where you get more of the black fruits, your black chilies and black plums, along with mint, tar, chocolate, leather. These are the flavors which comes out from the oak aging, because Cabernet as a grape responds really well to the palate. If you age Cabernet for some time, a good Cabernet for some time in oak, then it will give you a more of the secondary and tertiary characteristics into the wine. But having said that, but Cabernet Sauvignon can be grown in many parts of the world. Don't expect to grow Cabernet Sauvignon, good Cabernet Sauvignon from Germany or from Canada or from Austria. Right? So, like I said, the aroma is usually of the tobacco, the wild berries, the spices as well you may get. The sweetness is dry. The oak, yes, it does take a oak, it's a fruity wine. It's a medium fruity wine, and it can be a medium body and it can be a full body as well. It depends where does it grows. But this is the general description about our Cabernet Sauvignon which we produce in Apuch. Pairings Cabernet goes really well with a lot of foods which are high in flavors. Foods which really have different spices or which have been cooked for a long time. Those goes really well with Cabernet Sauvignon. Even with Indian foods, if you not try to pair with a lot of spices, but keep it with simple dishes with a lot of gravies and tomato-based sauces, Cabernet Sauvignon will work well with that. Sangiovese, if you have heard about Sangiovese, it's a grape native to Tuscany, to Italy, and it's a grape which has been produced very often on a very large scale in Tuscany. The grape behind many of the Super Tuscan and Chianti wines. Chianti is one of the world's most famous wines. The grape involved is Sangiovese. You may have different expressions again from Sangiovese, but it all depends on the winemaker style, how they would like to achieve the final quality. So with the Sangiovese, you get a lot of red fruits. You get plums, red plums, cherries, and you also get a lot of tomatoes. The tomato-based flavors is what you get when you got Sangiovese. And hence, this is an ideal partner for many of your pizzas and your pastas, which are more they come from Italy. So those are the dishes which originate from Italy. They use a lot of tomatoes as well, and this works really well with those kind of dishes. So we may say this as a regional pairing. Regional pairing is something which you pair a dish of a country and then you pair a wine of that country. So like Sangiovese is not an international grape, but it's more of a native grape of Tuscany, of Italy, and hence if you would like to do Sangiovese to a pairing, think about tomato-based dishes. Think about your pizzas which are loaded with tomatoes, or your pastas which have been cooked with a lot of tomatoes. That works really well. Even if you would like to consider maybe your Indian chicken which are cooked with tomatoes, I think that will really work well with Sangiovese. So yeah, sweetness is dry. Oak is not much. It takes oak, but you get a lot of the red fruits like the cherries, the walnuts, and a bit of the spice as well. Sometimes Sangiovese. Beautiful wine, a good wine for the beginners. People have just started drinking wine. You suggest a wine. I think Sangiovese is one of the lead runners because it does not give you a lot of bitterness or a lot of acidity in it, which does qualify it for beginners to enjoy this wine on a very large scale. So it works really well for those people. I think Merlot is one of the crowd pleasers in India. It goes it really blends well with Cabernet Sauvignon. So Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot are like a bonded in one of the most famous region in Bordeaux. So they work really well together. Many of your Bordeaux wines are Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot always compete with each other. So if Cabernet Sauvignon has any flaw, that flaw has been filled by Merlot. And if Merlot has anything, if there's lack anything, that has been filled by Cabernet Sauvignon. So they work in harmony with each other, and it is one of the most famous blend in the world, Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. You will have many expressions of Cabernet and Merlot together in India as well, because Merlot along with Cabernet does like heat. So you will find really good expressions of Merlot. Merlot gives you a more of slightly over sweetness, over ripe flavors. It's because the flavor profile of Merlot is usually of red fruits. You get a lot of red plums, red cherries, red strawberries, a lot of them. You may also get sometimes a jam which you may use for your breakfast in the morning. Imagine the taste of the jam, something that reminds us of the Merlot in most of the when we do a blind taste. So hence, yeah, Merlot cherries, red fruits, and you may also get a bit of chocolate if you do age a Merlot. If you have an example of a Merlot which has been spent, which is about 5 years or 10 years old, you may get a bit of chocolate as well, because that comes from the aging in the barrels or aging in the bottle. So that's how Merlot is. It's really a fruity wine, and it's a wine which really works well in India, because we as Indians, we love to have a bit of sweetness on our palate. That sweetness is been completed by Merlot, and hence many of the wine drinkers in India do prefer a good Merlot and that's their preferred choice. Food pairing, I think with Merlot, you have to keep the food really simple. Uh, Even if you do want to pair with the food, keep it really simple. If you don't want to pair it with food, I think it's a good wine to be drunk just on its own. So great choice for an aperitif or just to drink a glass while you're watching something or while you're waiting for someone. This is a great wine to begin. Shiraz is more or less on the same style as Cabernet Sauvignon. It gives you a lot of black fruits, but it's more of blackcurrant, more of the blackcurrant and black cherries. But along with that, it also gives you a lot of prominence, a lot of pronounced spices. So think about your cardamom, your cinnamon, and your black peppers. Black peppers, it is something which you will find in all of the wines based out of Shiraz. And when you have a hint of spice, you should understand that this grape is made of Shiraz. This wine is being made of Shiraz when you have a hint of spices onto your nose and on the palate. It is a really fruity wine. It gives you a lot of black fruits, but the element of the spice describes this wine prepared really well with many of your Indian foods. Because as you all know, we put a lot of spices into our food, into our cuisines, and hence this wine complements really well with many of the spices in our food. So this is a 400 if you want to pair Indian food or with Asian food. There's a lot of spices. You can always suggest about Shiraz because Shiraz as a wine also complements with a lot of spices. So you may get a bit of vanilla as well, wild berries, and like I said, black pepper is one of the more prominent flavor of the Shiraz. Shiraz is the largest number of plantings for Shiraz happens in Australia. Shiraz loves the heat, and hence in India as well, you will find a really good examples coming out of Shiraz. We don't produce really a premium quality Shiraz because our location of the vineyards is slightly isolated. It's not in the belt of the Nashik. But yes, in Nashik, if you come across and on the belt of the Karnataka, you will find a really good examples of Shiraz. Coming back to the whites, Sauvignon Blanc. When we think about Sauvignon Blanc, we think about green flavors. We think about vegetable flavors. Sauvignon means wild, and it's a grape which just grows wildly wherever you plant it. It does not need much of the effort to grow. It's like a grass. You know, when it's wild and it just picks up and it starts to grow wherever they can find a place. Exactly the same way for the Sauvignon, which translates in the French language as a wild. So it's a wild white wine. So a wine without a grape without any much effort, you can grow wherever you want. Hence, Sauvignon Blanc is one of the most popular grape along with Chardonnay. It grows almost in every country. You will find great examples of Sauvignon Blanc. But again, a country like Canada, which enjoys more cooler climate, and a country like India, which enjoys more hotter climates, you will have two different expressions of Sauvignon Blanc because a cooler climate will produce underripe flavors, a hotter climate will produce tropical notes because we generate a lot of sugar and they struggle to produce sugar in their grapes. So you will have two different sets of examples, which will have two different flavor profile of Sauvignon Blanc. So Canada will have a lot of citrus elements, a lot of grapefruit into it. India will have a lot of passion fruit. You will also have grapefruit, but you will also have a lot of herbaceous notes in the grass fruits. So yes, so when I am talking about Sauvignon Blanc, obviously I'm talking about what we are producing and close to the textbook expression of the grape. So Sauvignon Blanc in general would give you a lot of citrus elements. Citrus in the sense you will get a lot of green apple, you will have a gooseberry, the amla, you will have a passion fruit, which is from a hotter climate, and you will also have grapefruit as well. It's more of the green grass flavors, the shrubs. If you rub the green grass into your palm and then you smell them, that's exactly what Sauvignon Blanc is all about. So that's a great example, a great aromatic wine, a forerunner for aromatic wine is a Sauvignon Blanc. But in India, a lot of people don't understand Sauvignon Blanc. They don't like the grape as the wine as well because people say over here, wine khatti hai. Wine khatti isliye hai because it has a refreshing acidity. It is very tart and zesty. It's a wine which I call as a gastronomic wine. Means it needs to pair with salads, with dishes, with food. It's all about experiment. And when we pair Sauvignon Blanc with food, it does not give you that tartness, it does not give you that zestiness. it does not give you that khattapan. Like a lot of people don't like Sauvignon Blanc because it gives them that khattapan. So imagine drinking a fresh lime juice. It's exactly what you would produce from a Sauvignon Blanc. But if you have a fresh lime juice with some food, you will not feel that tarty, that zestiness. That's exactly what happens with Sauvignon Blanc. But it's a great wine to be paired with Sauvignon Blanc. When in doubt, I think when you're in doubt, when you have no words or you cannot think about a wine, I think Sauvignon Blanc is the wine you should think of. It's a very versatile wine for a buffet or a wide variety of dishes, and a group or a lot of people sitting together and they would like to have just to pick up one white wine. Sauvignon Blanc is the best choice for you. So remember that even if you do in your exams or whenever if you have a question, Sauvignon Blanc is the wine if you would like to consider. It's more like an all-rounder, right? So it's a very refreshing, high in acidity and very aromatic. Okay. And so you see the fruits have all of the three, so it's a really high. Chenin Blanc, Chenin Blanc may not be the best grape, may not be the largest producer in the world, but certainly in India, this has been produced on a very large scale. All of the producers, all of the wine producers in India do produce Chenin Blanc. Chenin Blanc loves the heat, loves the moderate heat, and we as a country do enjoy that. And hence, you may find Chenin Blanc in every store, which is more of like a cash cow. So this is more of your basic wine. Everyone makes money out of Chenin Blanc because this grape is easy to grow, easy to cultivate, and easy to produce wine. The fruit profile of Chenin Blanc is more about stone fruits and also some white flowers. Stone fruits is basically your melon, apricot, peach, and pear. So these are not more citrus and these are not more tropical. They sit right in between the spectrum of the fruits, and because of that, you may have a slight edge of sweetness onto it, which may also have a slight amount of honey characteristics into your wine. So this is all about Chenin Blanc, and hence we as Indians will love a bit of the sweetness, like I mentioned earlier, and Chenin Blanc does work well onto our palate. Having said that, with the food as well, if you do have a spicy food, if you have particularly hot food, then Chenin Blanc does really well because the sweetness in the wine balances really well with the spiciness of the hotness of the dish. So if you would like to consider for Chenin Blanc, I would say go for Asian foods or hot foods, in particularly if you're looking to pair Chenin Blanc. Chenin Blanc is really good wine to pair as a gastronomic wine along with Sauvignon Blanc, but try to limit itself to more to the hotter dishes because the sweetness balances the spiciness of the dish, right? So that's the Chenin Blanc. Chardonnay is again one of the world's most largest grown grape and also very, very famous along with Sauvignon Blanc. And Chardonnay has been produced almost everywhere, every country produces Chardonnay. India has still not conquered a great quality Chardonnay, but we are actually producing very well because, like I said, we are slightly away from the main regions. So we benefit a slightly moderate temperature, the weather, and hence we produce excellent results out of Chardonnay. So we have one of our most expensive sparkling wine, which is made out of Chardonnay. But anyway, Chardonnay is a wine which produces in India a lot of tropical fruits. You get a lot of your pineapple, your guava, your kiwi, your mango. So these are the flavors you will expect from a Chardonnay because we enjoy a lot of tropical climate. And with the tropical climate, you will have a lot of tropical fruits into Chardonnay. Chardonnay does take oak as well, really well, but not many of them try the oak as well with Chardonnay because the oak is again expensive. You are looking to spend about $500 on a new French oak barrel. So it's quite a money involved as well to put your wine into the oak, and hence they may consider it for red wines, but they may not consider for the white wines. Hence, most of the whites which we are producing in India are examples of stainless steel tanks. Right. So Chardonnay is a great wine to be paired with many of your seafood dishes, exotic seafood dishes like your lobsters, your prawns, your linguine pastas, linguine prawns. Also your baked fishes goes really, really well because along with the fruits, Chardonnay also takes oak very well, and hence you may have some of the expressions which may have a bit of the butter, bit of the almond, the coconut, and the vanilla pods into it, which works really well, which complements those white meats like your fishes and your heavy meats like your lobsters and those. that's how we think about the Chardonnay. We think about white sauces which have a lot of richness, a lot of creaminess into it. It goes pairs really well with Chardonnay, right? So that's about the grape varieties. Now with the sparkling wines, we have one of the sparkling wines by the name of JCB number 47. So this is one of the most expensive sparkling wine we produce, and this is from 100% Chardonnay. We use only one grape Chardonnay to produce this wine, and this is our version. We call it JCB number 47. This has been aged. This has been fermented for 6 months in the barrel. This is an example of a fermentation which is happening in the barrel. So 6 months of fermentation and aging in the barrel, and then after that, second fermentation in the bottle for about 30 months. So second fermentation, which happens in the champagne traditional method. So we exactly do the same way, but here the wine spends about 30 months in the second fermentation, and that's how this wine is being produced.
Second fermentation in the bottle for how long?
30 months.
30 months.
30 months for bottle fermentation, and hence the total aging of this wine is about 36 months, which is close to 3 years. And as you all know, when you age the wines for about, the more you age the wine in second fermentation, it actually enhances and it gains more complexity. So you make a shift from your primary flavors to secondary, and from secondary to tertiary. So you are now actually looking at more tertiary because you have passed that age of about 12 to 15 months, and because you're aging it for 30 months, so you're expecting a lot of almond, brioche, yeasty characteristics, so nutty flavors into the sparkling wines, and you also generate much more smaller effervescence, the bubbles into your wine. Now, this is a great example of a wine to compete with champagnes or serious sparkling wines from around the world, because on this scale in India, no one has produced a sparkling wine of that caliber. So first of all, 100% Chardonnay. Secondly, it's a vintage dated sparkling wine. The aging is about 36 months. So all these factors really count to the cost of the wine, because Chardonnay as a grape to use in wine is quite expensive. It's opposite of the Chenin Blanc, which can be produced in bulk, but Chardonnay on the other side, it's very difficult to grow, and the yield is very, very low, and hence you will not find many examples produced in India of Chardonnay. So that is why the reasons why this is one of our most expensive sparkling wine. This we sell in Delhi for about 3,500 for a bottle, and we produce only 2,400 bottles of this wine. 2,400 bottles is nothing on a scale when sometimes people produce about 10 lakh bottles. So you can understand the wine of this caliber is only for international markets, and we would love to compete these wines with many of the champagnes which have been in India. So the idea for this wine is only for super luxury resorts and some specialty restaurants where you have those people who can appreciate the finer nuances and the flavors of this wine. So for the food pairing, this wine does wonderfully well if you would like to just drink and enjoy on its own. But again, like I said, if you would like to think about the ultra luxury foods, think about like the lobsters and your heavier and your expensive dishes. With those, this works really, really well, right? So that's about our JCP number.
Considering the method of preparation, it is still cheap. I mean, 3,500 is still cheap. Like you are doing the second fermentation, and you are not introducing any CO2 artificially, and it is all manual job. So considering that, it is still cheap, and it is a good deal, I guess.
It is a good deal, but like I said, in hotels where I work, I mean, not only in Oberoi, but even in any other hotels, people, when we sell at 3,500, the end consumers in the hotels don't pay 3,500. It is good to buy at home to drink, but then if you go in the hotels, this will somewhere will cost you about 7,000 to 8,000 rupees at least, because you need to keep at least 50% markup, which is the highest I'm saying you, because usually the markups in the hotel starts from about 20 to 25%, and it will go if the wine is more expensive. But considering from my experience, if they would like to sell, this would be about 7,000 to 8,000 rupees in a hotel. And still people don't prefer. I tell you why people don't prefer is because if it's made in India, they think it's an inferior product. It's a product of not good quality, and hence people would rather go for a very regular brand like a Moët Chandon, which is made like a factory. Moët Chandon is made. Imagine how the toys are being made in a factory. It's exactly the same way how Moët Chandon is being made in Champagne. I know, I've been there and I've seen with my eyes. There is no heart and soul into it. It is just a money-making business. It's a commercial. It's very commercial. It's a supermarket.
I really wonder, Mr.
Right?
Rakesh, I really wonder why you are not increasing the scale of your production.
We don't want to, because if we do that, we would lose the quality of the wine.
And you're convinced about this?
Yes, so we would like to keep this wine only for the hotels and for some restaurants in India who can actually understand what wines are. So the main markets we are registered is wines in Mumbai, in Delhi, and we supply out of India, usually in France, UK, USA, Japan, Netherlands, and Italy. So these are the places we are there.
Also, since each of the wine is so peculiar to Fratelli, why have you named them according to the classical nomenclature? You know, Chenin and Chardonnay and Sauvignon and all. Why don't you name them something which is unique to Fratelli?
Well, that's the single expressions. So the single expressions has to be identified by the grape, because not only in India but anywhere else, well, you need to mention the grape varietal on the bottle, especially in the New World countries, where people buy the wines when they know the grape varietals. So a lot of the wines get sold because, for example, if I love my Sauvignon Blanc, I would like to see Sauvignon Blanc on the label, right? So I would buy Sauvignon Blanc because it is a Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So our law, there is no law in India, and hence you can mention the grape varietals. Obviously, in countries like even New World countries like Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, or USA, you have to mention the grape varietal. But your old world countries like your French, Italian, Spanish, they don't allow to mention the grape varietals unless it's a table wine, where you can mention. But for example, Burgundy sells by the Burgundy itself. You know, if you have a Côte de Nuit or Côte de Beaune, then you know it's 100% Chardonnay or 100% Pinot. But in India, there is no such law, and hence it is essential. It is kind of a marketing, because people buy the wines when they know the grape variety. So number 47 is the independence we got in 1947. Just to commemorate that, we have mentioned here number 47. And JCB is the short version of a venture which we have with a person from Burgundy. His name is Jean-Charles Boisset. So I'm just going to read. Oh, someone has already asked. Jean-Charles Boisset. Right. Okay.
JCB is also synonymous with the big machine which is used to remove encroachments.
No, we're not talking about that. So JCB is a proprietary of Burgundy. He's a man who makes wines in Burgundy, and he also makes wine in California, in England, and now we have done a joint venture with him in India by the name of Junoon. So JCB is part of the Junoon, and JCB means Jean-Charles Boisset. Number 47 is because we got the independence in 1947. So to have that Indian feeling, we have put it number 47 onto the label. So that's about it. This is our second sparkling wine. We call it Cronkite Group. So Cronkite Group is our version of an Indian sparkling wine. This has been made of about 85% Chenin Blanc, and the rest we use Cabernet Sauvignon and Muller-Thurgau. So you may not have heard much about those two grape varietals, but they are more indigenous and more local to Germany and Alsace. So there they thrive really, really well because of the cooler climate. It produces excellent wines. But the main grape in this is Chenin Blanc, which all of us, including we, produce on a very large scale. And this is number of bottles we produce is about 50,000 bottles every year. So this is about Chenin Blanc. So this is a wine It's again a second fermentation, like a traditional method, Champenois method. The same style we produce this wine, but here this is more affordable style and something which Indians would love to do on a Sunday brunch. You'd like to pair a wine with a lot of different foods. Like I said, Chenin Blanc can go well with spicier foods. So this actually does the job of the Chenin Blanc with a bit of spicy food. It works really, really well. So that's our version of Cronkite Group. This spends about 15 months in second fermentation in the bottle. No barrel aging, stainless steel fermentation, and 15 months in the bottle. After that, the wine is released. So this is about this is going to be about 1,200 to 1,300 rupees per bottle. And we do also have the port, the ciders. So what we are trying to show you was the still wines, the sparkling wines, and the sweet wine. So port is nothing special in the port. It is made on a very affordable style, just for the masses, because there is a demand for a lot of port in India, and you may get it at a very, very reasonable price. So there's a lot of sugar being kept in the wine just to give you that sweetness, and there's a high in alcohol as well, about 16-17%. So this is our version. Right, so drinking wine, like you all know the serving temperatures, sparkling wines, the white wines, the rosé, and the reds. The reds are being served at the room temperature, but about room temperature is you need to create that room temperature of about 15 to 17 or 18 degrees to serve at the room temperature. If your ambient temperature is about 35 degrees, then you'll have to bring it down to 15. If not, then you may have to chill the red wine in the fridge before you open or start serving it. And then bring it down to about 15 degrees temperature, and then put it back in the fridge after you pour the glass. And then that's the way I think you will always have to do, because obviously we have the challenge over here, temperatures which is high about 40-45 degrees, and it's difficult to maintain that temperature of 15 to 20 degrees. So that's, I would suggest, if you do like to drink red wine, put in the fridge, pour a glass for yourself, a very small glass, and then you just have to follow the same steps again. So sparkling wines, ice cold, white wines, fridge cold, and rosé wines, you may have a slightly between cooler to a moderate temperature. Depends on the style of the wines you're drinking as well. For example, if it's a white wine, if it's a Sauvignon Blanc and if it's a Chardonnay, I would suggest to serve Sauvignon Blanc at about 7 degrees. And I don't mind if you are serving a Chardonnay at about 12-13 degrees, because that's absolutely fine. Chardonnay is a little more heavier, fuller bodied, so you can serve a slightly more warmer. Sauvignon Blanc is very, very light and refreshing on the palate. So you may expect to serve slightly cooler as well. So that depends. And hence we gave the temperature in a range. The white wines have the range of temperatures in the red wines. It's a lighter red, you may expect to serve slightly cooler. If it's a heavier red wine, then you may expect to serve slightly warmer. So you obviously know how this works, how to taste wine. It's you just have to see the wine. You do the appearance is all by your eyes. So we actually do the blind tasting. It's a really fun and exciting thing, but it's all about experience as well. I think I have now developed the skills to understand wine and to judge the wine just without looking at the label. I can tell you the grape right inside the wine, or I can tell you just by smelling more history about the wine. So I don't even have to taste the wine to tell you what is the grape variety in it. Just by appearance and by smell, I can tell you about 75 to 80% of what the wine is all about. So this all develops when you do a tastings, when you serve so many wines, especially when you
forgot to mention swirling the glass.
So that is the next step. So first you have to see the appearance. So you see with your eyes, there are certain parameters which we need to follow, because if you do follow that parameters, it's very easy to crack any damn wine in the world. It's so simple. It's just you have to have a dedication and a passion to do that. With you have that, and you can be one of the best sommeliers as well.
No, before smelling the wine, the glass has to be swirled. And then it has to be swirled.
Well, I do a slightly different version, because I don't exactly go with what they say. So when you see the wine, you smell, after that you smell. I do that. It's just because when you smell and then you swirl and then you smell, you will see the difference in the flavor profile, in the aromas, because they actually what happens is when you swirl the glass, the molecules get disturbed, they react with each other, and they get disturbed, and they start to come out of the glass. So when you don't swirl and you smell the wine, it is very difficult for you to pick up the aromas. Now, when you swirl and when you smell the wine, there will be a more pronounced effect on your nose, and you will be able to identify the aroma which were hidden before. So that's a difference in that the difference what does to you when you swirl the wine. So without smelling first, if you swirl it, it will be slightly difficult for you to understand the flavor profile, but the aroma flavor. But if you smell first and then swirl and then smell, it will be different. But yeah, but usually you see, then you smell, and then you taste. So when you taste, you have to taste the wines. You have to put it all around your mouth and evaluate the acidity, the fruit flavors, the body, like I said, the water, milk, and the cream, the structure, the bitterness, so the tannins, the alcohol. So all of this you have to describe, and you have to create your own sentences. That's how we come up with the conclusion of about the wine. And
we have had Sula.
Exactly the way.
We have had Sula Vineyards come to our campus, and they did all of these 4 exercises. And then in the end, they asked the students for their observations, you see. And it was a very interesting session. And I hope to have you also in our campus and do a wine tasting session, Mr. Rakesh.
Yeah, I think it's the same. It's the same setup exactly what everyone does. In fact, not here but everywhere around the world, the same setup which everyone follows. So then you have to make an observation, because you may not remember everything in your head. So you will have to write it down, and hence we have tasting books where the wines we tasted 10 years back, you still know how the wines we tasted, and you have to mention, or you have to write it down in a book, so you remember how the wine was 10 years back. And the same wine, if you open now, it will be completely different flavor. So the tasting notes will be different from the 10 years back until now. So that's the idea about the wine tastings and the observations, right? So how to taste wine is now you understand. Next, storage. There are certain parameters again you will have to follow when you're doing a storage. Store wine at a stable temperature. So temperature of about 20 degrees Celsius. If you buy a wine, if you ever buy a wine, and if you want to keep it somewhere, and maybe you want to drink it for a special occasion, I would suggest to store at about 50 degrees Celsius. Store the wine bottles horizontally, so not standing vertical, but horizontally. Protect from light and vibration. Keep them away from direct sunlight. I'm talking about the sunlight and the vibration. So vibration is, there should not be a lot of vibration in the room where you're keeping it. So the molecules get disturbed, and it might deter in the aging of the wines. And light is the ultraviolet rays, especially from the sun, are not good, because they react with the wine, and the wine gets spoiled very, very quickly. Store wine at a proper humidity. But I think the perfect temperature in your house is not bad at all. It's the good temperature. If possible, store wine in a cabinet, not your regular kitchen fridge. If you do like to store wine, if you do ever would like to collect wines, that is the case, then you may have to get a separate wine cabinet where you can store your wines. But if you're buying regularly, I think your regular storage would work fine. And just before you would like to drink, maybe a half an hour or 1 hour before, you may keep it in the fridge just to bring down the temperature, right? So interesting careers in the wine. So if you guys ever want to do, if you want to see, like you would like to now go into the wine, and you might be like slightly little more serious now with the wines, then yes, obviously there are courses with the wine world. So we have, the most important is the WSET. Well, to tell you now, WSET and the Court of Master Sommeliers are 2 different bodies. WSET is more if you would like to pursue your career into being into a sales and marketing or a wine executive. If you would like to work with a brand, like for an importer, or you would like to work for example, just give you an example, right? Like a Jacob's Creek, or if you would like to work for any wine producer, maybe here or abroad, anywhere, then WSET is a good stepping stone. If your intention is to work in hotels and restaurants, which is more about a practical serving of wines, about operations related, about talking to your guests, or explaining them the tasting notes of the wine, then the Court of Master Sommelier is the best version. So I would suggest you not to waste your money necessarily if you don't know what to do, right? Both are being offered in India. WSET and Port of Master Sommelier as well. And both of them are, I mean, if you go to the next levels, WSET, the first level starts from 10,000 rupees, but you don't require to do that since you are already a graduate from the IHM. So the basics have been taught to you. So you can straight away do WSET level 2, which will start from about 28,000 or 30,000, yes, around same figure. WSET 3, there are levels. WSET 3 will start from about 1 lakh, right? WSET 4, which is a diploma, you're looking to spend about 5 lakh, right? And after WSET 5, which is the last level, which is the Master of Wine, which is last level, you are looking to spend about 50 to 60 lakh rupees. Port of Master Sommelier, on the other hand, is great if you would like to continue yourself in working in the hotels. You still would like to continue and see yourself working in the hotel industry or in the restaurant industry. Master Sommelier, because that is more in likes with the operations, with the serving of the wine, how to open a bottle of sparkling wine, how to talk about the wines, and all the technicalities which are associated with the hotels is being taught in Port of Master Sommelier. Port of Master Sommelier starts from about 60,000 to 70,000 for the first one, and if you do pass the first one, then if you would like to improve the second one, you're looking to spend about the same, about 75,000 for 2. And same amount again, 70 to 75,000 for level 3. There are 4 levels in the Court of Master Sommelier and 5 levels in WSET, but Court of Master Sommelier is very, very difficult to crack. Wine Scholar Guild is a very fun and exciting way. You can actually do this online. So these are the courses we taught over the virtual sessions, and you don't actually have to go in or study somewhere. So you will receive the study materials online, and you just have to do a self-study. And after completing about every course, you will get the certification on a badge, and you may be able to call yourself as a Wine Scholar Guild. So they have the specific courses for country. So you may have a French wine scholar, you may have an Italian wine scholar, you may have a Spanish wine scholar. So every region will have, again, so you can do a course which is specific to country wise. So even if you do a French wine scholar, you can do that as well. Then you have to study for some time. Then you just have to go to a nearest center, which is something like you do for an ILS. So something similar, you have to go around, and then you have to appear for the exams. And within a few days, you get the results and crack on. You become a French wine scholar. So those are the courses. If you would like to pursue, I can give you more information about them, and I can guide you as well if you are interested. Career opportunities, like I said, yes, it's very lucrative and an exciting career in the wine world, but don't enroll yourself and do injustice to yourself just because there's a very good pay and it's a very good job, because a lot of people see somebody, oh, you get to drink wine, you get to eat food, and you have to travel abroad. So there are a lot of perks and benefits, but don't consider that the only reason why you should be doing this course or opportunity. If you're really serious and if you do love wines and you would like to know more about it, then only that you should step into this position. Otherwise, you are not doing justice to yourself and the program as well. So sommelier is the first and the most important if you want to consider your career in the wines. So sommelier is the person who is responsible for the sale of the wines. You're actually not only sale, but you're also responsible for assisting your guests in understanding or in deciding what wines they should be drinking or having with your meals or without the meals. You're also responsible for on a larger platform, like how I was involved in buying, sourcing, and creating the list, and also do trainings, tastings for the staff. So it's a lot of responsibilities on your shoulders because you are the face of a particular establishment when you become a sommelier, and that is really, really important. So, and people trust you. So whoever the guest walks into you, they trust your judgment, they trust your goodwill. So if if you do not know and if you give any false information, that is not correct. So you have to be very, very careful what you say when you want to become a sommelier, right? Second is a wine sales executive. Like I mentioned, if you want to work with an importer or if you want to work with a particular brand, you can work as a wine sales executive. There are a lot of opportunities, and it's very easy to get it. A lot of people I know are working here in India, abroad, and anywhere in the world. You easily get these positions as well, wine sales executive. Brand ambassadors are more like for a particular brand, for example, Moët & Chandon. So Moët Chandon may have a brand ambassadors in every country. So example like Jacob's Creek will have a like Pernod Ricard. So they will all have their brand ambassadors who are working in different countries. So your job would be to just talk about that particular brand, and you have to create an awareness, and you have to educate and create. You may have to go to hotels and restaurants and do, uh, do a training on your brands. So that's more like a brand ambassador. Wine consultant, you can work as an independent, you can work as a freelancer, as a wine consultant, you can actually you can do the training and tastings. The more or less the same job as a sommelier, but you're working independent from home. You may do tastings and trainings for an establishment, and you may charge them for an event. You may conduct a lot of events. You may conduct events which are related to wine glasses. You may conduct an event with embassies for promoting a wine of a particular country. So there are a lot of opportunities. You may also consider yourself as a wine writer or blogger. Now the social media are so close and connectivity. I think the blogging is really catching up. So you can create your own blogs, you can create your own websites, you can create your own social media channels, and you can promote and you can write blogs. And sometimes you may also get to visit vineyards, estates. For example, if you start writing blog, I may invite you for a 1 night or a 2 night trip where you should write about the approach and the wines about fertility to your connections. So that's about the blogging, and then obviously marketing is the last. Marketing is when you work with a particular brand and then you establish all the marketing related opportunities and how to create the impact on the social media and the masses. So marketing is a much broader role, but you may choose as the marketing even working for a hotel and be specific to the wines, or generally be specific to the entire operations of the food beverage. So there are a lot of career opportunities in the wine world as well. You just have to decide what attracts more people. Right. Very quickly, we're gonna just talk about the facts. We have the highest growth rate in the Indian wine industry. We have one of India's highest awarded wine companies. We have laid new benchmark in terms of quality for Indian wines. We have 29 different labels of domestic wines. We are present in 18 Indian states and 9 countries. We are present at 11,000 touch points of sales. Now, this is our benchmark flagship wine, which we have produced in India. This is called Sette. Sette means 7 in the Italian language, and it is the coming together of 7 people. The 6 of the people, which I showed you in the very beginning, in the first slide, the 6 people who form the Fratelli, the 3 sets of the family, and plus the 7th person, the man himself, the creator. So together they form and they make Sette. Sette was formed accidentally in 2009 when we enjoyed a really good weather, a really good harvest. We produced an exceptional fruit quality, and then we decided to separate this fruit quality with the rest of the grapes. And that's how the story began. We produced about 19,000 bottles for the first vintage in 2009, and this was priced at about 1,500 rupees in 2009. This was the most expensive wine in 2009 when we introduced, and people started calling Fratelli as crazy people because people were criticizing, especially the wine bloggers and a lot of the wine aficionados, because they thought selling such an expensive wine is not a good idea, and hence people started throwing backwards to us. But eventually, when the wine came out and the wine was bottled and the wine was tasted, people started praising the wine because it was a really an exemplary and extraordinary wine which we had produced from the vineyards. And since then, we never stopped looking back. Sette, the demand for Sette has been increased year on year, and right now, the current production of Sette is about we produce about 80,000 bottles. So that's how the Sette came into existence. Sette is a blend of about 60% of Sangiovese and 40% of Sauvignon, Cabernet Sauvignon, which have been sourced from the best vineyards we have ever produced. So 1% of our entire crop, 1% of the entire vineyard crop goes to produce Sette, and that's how we've been producing Sette for so long time. Sette goes into French and American barrels for about 12 to 15 months and about another 3 months in the bottle. So all in all, that's how the wine is being aged and fermented and aged in the barrels. Like I said, when you age the wine in the barrel, from the different barrels will give you different flavor profile. American barrels will give you a lot of vanilla, coconut. French barrels will give you a lot of spices and savory characteristics into the wine. And also will give you a little bit of chocolate to it. American barrels will give you a lot of sweetness and spice as well. So So this is how the wines are being created, and Sate is an exemplary wine. I'm just going to do you a short video on our video so that you can see our vineyards back there as well, and then I will continue back.
In life, there are all kinds of people. Passionate people, ambitious people, artistic people. We are a mix of all of these. We are the Fratelli people. Our story is the coming together of 6 brothers from Italy and India who wanted to share their love for wine with the world in its purest form. Being situated in a virgin land, kept at 50 kilometers radius, away from any industrialization, our passion spreads across 240 acres, with 7 core values deeply flowing within us. As we at Fratelli believe wines are made in the vineyard first, we rise with humbleness and stay true to our mission with honesty. While discipline is instilled deep within us, we are self-motivated to the core of our roots. That's how we grow with confidence. We work hard enough to make things meet, and are ambitious enough to reach the greatest heights. But it's never easy to reach perfection. We begin our craft by rounding up the finest grapes, where they are gently crushed, cozily fermented in our Italian tanks, and stored in the premium French barrels, where they are gracefully aged till they are ready. We call ourselves the artists of winemaking, because winemaking for us is not a process, it's an art. Welcome to the world of Fratelli Vineyards.
Good presentation.
Thank you, sir. So that was our philosophy and the idea behind the winemaking. Like they say, wine is made in the vineyard. It's never been made in the winery. It's never been made in the estate. We just slightly tweak the wines, but wine is made. Actually, it's 12 months of effort, and which gives you the quality of the wines. Hence, it has been made in the vineyards. Right. So next is our cans. Cans is something which we have introduced last year to the market. I'm not sure, I'm not heard if you have heard about wine in a can, but it's a market, it's a very lucrative concept, and around the world, this has been becoming really, really popular. It's a trend which has been catching up very quickly, and hence we have now started our version of the cans, which is now we call as a tilt. So there is a 70% growth year on year in the cans, and hence we thought this is a great market, especially in India, where wine is still considered as an expensive, it's a luxury drink. The cans is something which is going to blow out and will fill the gap for the discerning crowd who have still not enjoyed the wines. So this is our idea to create a wine who even a common man should be able to drink wine now. So our cans is called tilt, and as we say, chill it, open it, and sip it. So that's very, very simple. You just have to chill the can for a few minutes. You crack open it and have a sip of it. Crisp, easy, and delicious. It's such a refreshing and the crisp, the refreshing taste, the bubbles in the can just makes it really, really crunchy. It's a very, very delicious product. It is because we have kept a bit of the sweetness in the wine, and that contributes to the sweetness. Like I said, we love a bit of sweetness into our and drinks, and that is the idea we have kept in the can. And hence, it's a really, really crisp, easy, and a delicious, refreshing product to be enjoyed on the go. Some of the USPs of our tilt, which is a wine in a can, we are the first of its kind to introduce the 4 different varietals on the platform. The goodness of wine is absolutely now available in a can. You don't need any wine glasses, nor do you need new wine opener to open the can. Vegan and gluten-free, we don't use any animal products, or we don't use any derivatives from the animal to process the wine in a can. It is very easy to carry and store. It's not heavy, or it does not give you a lot of effort. It is very, very simple and light in weight. So you can actually carry it wherever and whenever you want it. It does not have an expiry, so it's the first product in India we have introduced. In fact, there is no one in India who have introduced a product which does not have an expiry. So the reason for no expiry is because we have tested the product in our estate. We have actually tried the tilt, which has been packed, which has been canned for about last year, and we've been doing this trial for every month, and we have tasted this very often, and we have found out that there is no discrepancies, there is no change in the color, texture, or the flavor of the can. It remains exactly the way it was last year when it was canned. And hence, if we rightly wanted to say it, there is no expiry because it does not change the flavor. And hence, we have succeeded. And even if you turn around the can, you will see there is nowhere it is written expiry on the product. It's 11% alcohol, which makes a great place. In fact, it makes a great space to be enjoyed and consumed during any time of the day, anywhere you want to go to picnic or an occasion outside for lunch, for evening time, or for late dinner, or while you're watching a football match or IPL. I think it's a product which can fit at many places, because unlike the wine, which is very, very peculiar at very some occasions, only you can serve them. It has been shielded from light and air, so it has a protective layer. Cans has a protective layer. It reflects the light and air, and hence, unlike your glass bottles, which can easily be oxidized by air, or if you keep the glass bottle in sunlight, naked light, even for 3 hours, the chances are that it will get spoiled and it will not be able to consume. Unlike the cans, even if you keep them for 6 months in the light and air, it's absolutely fine. It's still be fresh, a perfect product to enjoy at beach, at pool. When you have direct sunlight, you can create memories instantly with the can. Easy to dispose. We just have to crush the can like you crush the can of a soft drink or any other drink. It's so simple, and then you can dispose it out very, very quickly. Quick chilling. I think one of the key benefits of the tilt and the can is the quick chilling. It chills really, really quickly. You get about a temperature of 5 degrees, which is suggested for the can, for the tilt. You just have to chill for 15 minutes, and there you go. You can clearly get the chilling. Unlike bottles, which will take at least an hour for the chilling, this works really, really well. A portion control about 250 ml works perfectly fine for an average consumer to drink about a can. And if you do consider for the environment, the global warming, the cans is much more better because they produce less carbon emissions compared to the plastic and the glass, and also it's 100% recyclable. So again, it's the plastic and the glass which is not 100% recyclable. It also has about 150 calories, so it's a product which you can easily compete with many of your beers. Your breezers are about 225 calories, and your beers clock around more than 225 calories. So in a way, it is much more healthier. It will not make your appetite full. It will not give you the bloated feeling which you usually get from the beer, and you can actually have another can, or you can make room for a meal. So all in all, I think it's a really great product, refreshing, crisp, and easy to drink. So 4 versions of the tilt are available. Onto the left and onto the extreme right are the bubbly versions. They create the more effervescence, the more gas, and hence they are called bubbly. The middle ones are the more flatter versions. They are the stiller versions. You may have a slightly effervescence at the beginning, but those are the flatter versions, the white and the red. So all of them are being priced about 175 rupees in Delhi, and you're actually looking to spend about 175 for a 250 ml can, which is quite affordable and a very, very beautiful drink. Excellent.
Mr. Rakesh?
Yes, sir.
Gokul has a question. Gokul?
Can I get the questions after, sir? Can I just finish Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So I will just take another 5 minutes, and then I will be able to. Anyone has any questions, then they can put in the chat box or unmute yourself. I'll be able to answer that. I'll just take another 5 minutes, and I'll finish this off. So Noi is something similar which we have introduced on the lines of the tilt. Noi means V in Italian language, and Spritzer is a very classic cocktail. In Italy, it's usually been drunk during summers or most of the afternoons. It's a very refreshing style of cocktail where we use 50% of wine and 50% of soda water, which is more like a carbonated water, and just a splash of sugar. So a great cocktail which you can serve in a white wine or red wine glass. And here we have something similar called spritzer in a can. So Noi is about 50% of alcohol and 50% of soda water and 8% of alcohol. You can enjoy the Noi the way you can enjoy the tilt. Just chill it, crack open it, and have a sip of it. Or you can use as a mixer to many of your drinks. Or you can create a spritzer out of it. 120 calories is again less than the tilt. Tilt has 150 calories. This has 120 calories. So it is still a really, really refreshing product to enjoy it anywhere in the go. Especially females, if you would love to have something more lighter on the alcohol, I think the Noi works perfectly well because it's a diluted version of the wine. We add the soda water, but you still have the effervescence, the gas. If you love gas, like the sparkling, then this works perfectly well. And it is, and the price wise, it is 150 rupees, which is about 5 rupees cheaper than the tip. So a great product and a beautiful packing makes it a really attractive product, especially for the millennials, for the younger generations. This is a product we have introduced. And last, we have the cheese. We'll just have a quickly on the cheese. The cheese is something we have introduced from January this year. The idea of the cheese was to bring one of the best quality cheeses into the market. And because we are a wine producer, we wanted to keep an element of the wine into the cheese. We are producing the cheese on a very small scale, so it's a handcrafted, and we don't add any preservatives into our cheese. Because when you add the preservatives, your shelf life of the cheese gets low, so and your quality gets compromised. So our preservatives been no preservatives added, and our quality of the cheese is really high, and but the shelf life is only for 2 months. So we have now produced 3 different kinds of cheeses which are inspired from our vineyards, from our wines, and it's a handcrafted and it's a preservative free. So Sangiovese leaf aged cheddar. Here what we do is we wrap around the Sangiovese wine leaves, which is grown plentifully in our vineyards. We pick up the leaves, the wine leaves, and we wrap them around our cheddar cheese. And there's a process of aging the cheese for 5 months. And during the aging of the 5 months, there's a slight transmission of the flavor from the cheese, from the wine's leaves into the cheese. So this is an edible Sangiovese wine leaves just at the wine. And at the center, you have the cheddar, which is the actual textbook cheddar. This is how we produce a Sangiovese leaf aged cheddar. So when you bite the cheese, you will have a slight savory and smoky characteristics, which comes out from the Sangiovese leaves. The cheese at the center, at the heart, remains exactly as the cheddar. Second is the Chenin sunburst. The Chenin Blanc is the actual Chenin Blanc we use. During the process of cheese making, there is a step where the cheese needs to be washed with water. Here we replace the water with wine, and the Chenin Blanc wine is being washed with the cheese, and hence you will get a slightly brighter color of the cheese because of the color of the Chenin Blanc infuses into the cheese, and you will get a slightly sticky orange at the rind is because of the flavor of the Chenin Blanc. Last, we have the Syrah rinsed Gusto. Here we replace the Chenin Blanc with the Syrah, and exactly the same way we do a Syrah rinsed Gusto. So when you eat a Syrah rinsed Gusto, just at the back of your mouth, when you finish eating, you will get the element of the spice and peppercorn, because Syrah is all about spices and the peppercorns, and that's then the element of which you get in your cheese, and that really helps because we as Indians, we love to have a bit of spices into your dish, and this really satirizes what the cheese is all about. So the Syrah rinsed Gusto, it's a really a good addition. In fact, all of the 3 cheeses are really doing well into the market. People have thought about this element of the introduction of the wine, something more creativity into the cheese, and which is actually what we are doing now. An element of wine into the cheese, it's something on the next level what we have produced. So this can be sold. You can now even talk about the cheese and talk of the element of the wine into the cheese, which is something extraordinary. And you may get a lot of normal regular cheeses in the market, but something of this scale, it's very, very difficult to find, not only in India, but even on the global scale. It is very few people who are actually doing something of this sort. So a beautiful product, we would like to serve this as a, in a dessert section. If you would like to create a 25 grams cheese, and maybe you would like to serve a That's all I would like to say. From me, thank you guys. But now, if you have any questions, you can please tell me. The cork is made of wood, and the wood gets wood gets shrink when you don't mellow it with the wine, and when the wood gets shrink, the oxygen passes through the wine, and the wine gets spoiled because of the oxidation, and hence it's important that you need to keep the cork, the bottle horizontal, so the wine is mellowed with it.
When you were talking about storing wines, you said wines should be stored horizontally. Isn't it true that only the corked wines should be stored horizontally? The other wines can be stored vertically?
Yeah, the other bottles can be stored as they are. They can be stored vertically. Usually, most of the screw cap wines meant to be drunk at the youngest. So you should be looking to consume them at the earliest and not to keep them for too long. But yes, they can be kept horizontally. Vertically. What yeast do we use? We actually use cultured yeast, which you all have studied in your college as well. The Saccharomyces cerevisiae is one of the yeast which has been used. But again, a lot of people have now moved forward, and not just Saccharomyces cerevisiae, but they use the yeast derivatives which are more beneficial to the style of winemaking they are produced. So the role of the yeast depends on what the style of the wines they would like to produce. But in general, Saccharomyces cerevisiae is the yeast which is being widely accepted with many of the winemakers.
Is there any other questions you want to ask students? Do you have any other question you can ask? All right. I would like to thank Mr. Rakesh for taking out the valuable time. It is really great to have you here and guiding our student. I would like to once again thank the management and principal sir. And before ending, I would like to highlight the main points which we have discussed. So for the student, we have discussed about the process of winemaking, and we had discussed about the Fratelli wines, different type of wines like light-bodied, medium-bodied, full-bodied, and different grapes, varietal wines which Fratelli is making, like Cabernet Sauvignon, Sangiovese, Merlot, Shiraz, Sauvignon Blanc, Chenin Blanc, Chardonnay. All of these grapes we have discussed about their taste profile and their alcoholic percentage, as well as the pairing which can be done with these grapes. And we have discussed about their one of the champagne, JCB number 47. It is a great champagne, 100% Chardonnay. And then we had discussed about the port also. They have a good port, Cider port. And we had discussed about the wine storage. What is the wine storage conditions which are required for the wines, and serving temperatures for different type of wines, light, medium bodied, and red, white, sparkling, and port. And we have seen the Sate, the premium brand of the wine, and a can tilt and the Noi. It is really a good concept which I came across, the spritzer and the wine which is available in the cans. And the cheese like leaf aged cheese and wine rinsed cheeses, these are totally a new concept, and it is really great to know. And so thank you so much, Mr. Rakesh Awaghade, once again for this training. We really gained a lot from this training. Thank you so much.
No problem, sir. I hope it was a very good, insightful for all of them because, like I mentioned, I didn't know what to start and when to start with them because I can go on and on with the students as long as I want.
Actually, I can understand. I mean, it is very difficult to keep it brief. It is very difficult to pick the topics which we can discuss and how far we can go. It is very difficult. I understand. But whatever you have covered, it is great, and it is really gave us a good idea about all the aspects overall.
Yeah, like I said, if anyone has any questions or if they don't remember now, and if they have anything to ask later on, if they do realize that, oh, I forgot to ask this, that, whatever you have, you can always ask me questions on my Instagram account. I'm available there, and I will answer them as soon as possible. And it's also a very good insights for the wines. If you would like to know about the tasting notes, how I write about the wines, you can always check onto the page and see how I rate the wines over there.
Definitely. Thank you so much. I will share your contacts with the students for the further if they have any questions or query.
Last word of today's meeting. Please, students and everybody present, all the teachers, please protect yourselves from the pandemic. Wear the mask always, socially distance from each other, and please follow very good hand hygiene. Wash your hands frequently and sanitize them. Thank you very much, and God bless all.